What is going on? Active listings on eBay, does it matter depending on, or if you want to be a full-time reseller, is there a certain number of active listings that you need to have on eBay? I'm trying to do, oh, no, don't give me some audio over here. Sorry, guys. You know me, not for anything. We're talking about active listings today and whether or not they matter for being a full-time reseller on eBay. I put a question prompt over in the chat. Let me know how many active listings you guys have and how many listings or how many sales you get per day. Since we're talking about this, I have a good friend of mine, goes by the College Reseller, that I wanted to bring in and chit chat about this because Ethan, honestly, among our little friend group, makes probably more sales than all of us combined and probably doesn't have as many active listings as nearly any of us. So without further ado, I'll stop rambling on my intro. I'll bring in Ethan, and Ethan can give us a little spiel on who he is and what he does, if you guys don't know who my guy, the College Reseller, is.
Hello. It's so weird coming from backstage when you're not even behind a stage. Am I in?
You're in. You want to? I had the audio muted because YouTube was playing. So go ahead and give us a little rundown of who you are, what you do.
So I was the College Reseller. I still am technically on Instagram. I'm no longer in college. Since the last time Dalton interviewed me, I've graduated, gotten married, moved to Florida. So I'm now in the vicinity of Dalton, so I can bother him a lot. But I full-time sell shoes now. So I think that's the spiel.
That's it?
I don't know what else.
Well, I brought you on, so I didn't have to talk for the whole hour. You just gave a 30-second intro.
I went from doing it part-time in school while playing soccer. And then I decided to not pursue my degree. I finished my degree, but I decided not to pursue a job in my degree. And I really wanted to full-time resell shoes. And I thought that I could invest in my business, invest in myself for a year and see where it takes me. August, I think 15th will be my year mark. And I think according to what my numbers say, I think I'm well in the good standing of actually going full-time with this.
Nice. So you say going full-time?
Yeah. Well, so like making it official that I'm not going to go look for a job after a year.
Okay. That makes sense.
So like continuing doing it.
And when did you start over? You for those that don't know, you moved to Florida, like you said, and in doing that, you didn't move your inventory with you. So you basically started your business over.
I completely started over. So I got married in July on the 30th. And then I went to Costa Rica, and then we got back. And then all of my inventory had been sold in June. So I had not resold for an entire month of July leading up to the wedding. And then I had one bag of shoes that I had picked up from the bins, and that was my start over point. And we moved down here, got an apartment, got everything set up. So it would have been like mid-August. Would have been
nice. So that's kind of like the perfect situation to talk about what we're talking about today. When you started over, since you already knew what you were doing, you were already picking up the good stuff. You knew how to resell. You were experienced, but you were still starting back over from basically zero.
Yep.
Did you automatically start seeing sales roll in once you got started?
I think so, but it was also kind of like as soon as I had about 20 listings, it kind of like revamped saying that like I was back or whatever. I honestly saw more money movement in the beginning on Poshmark, just purely because there was new active listings that were coming in that weren't on Poshmark before. eBay is kind of stingy about when active listings come in and that threshold. So I think honestly, my first couple of sales probably were 3 or 4 days after, and then it just kind of ramped up from there. But it was also a lot of experimenting and learning for a month of me not selling. Just kind of taking a look at my business and why the things that I had in my business weren't actually selling.
Gotcha. So whenever you started seeing sales after those first like 20 days of getting into your new reselling business and the sales started rolling in, first off, how many were you listing every day? And second, like how many were you seeing a normal amount of sales, or was it just like 1 or 2 trickling in?
So a normal amount of sales like per day for me before I moved down here was like anywhere from 3 to 4. So I was considering that normal because it was part-time, and
right.
having to transfer myself from part-time to full-time and expectation of how to make that money was huge. So I started off really hard in active listings. So I think I was doing 20 or 25 a day for about 3 weeks. And then I kind of overdrafted myself, going from 0 to 20 really quickly. And just was like, I was spending a lot, but it was on good stuff. But it was also like just understanding myself of like, okay, I need to get something out there. But as I was listening, I was seeing sales come in at the same time. And so by mid-September, I moved back down from 20 to 15. And then in December, I made the choice to go from, I only list 15 during the week and then 10 on the weekends to give myself a break on the weekends.
So. Right. And what were sales looking like?
Sales were good in August, considering I didn't have much. And considering I was learning all of the locations around here because I was new to this area and trying to find thrift stores and stuff like that. My buy cost was a lot higher than it was where I was at school. Just in terms of, it was basically double. So I had to be more careful about the stuff I was picking up. So sales were probably, for mid-August, was probably 5 or 6 a day. And then September kind of took off.
Okay. So once you started listing consistently, you were already seeing 5 to 6 sales per day.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is it's more when it comes to figuring out how many sales you need or how many listings you need to do, it's more about daily listings for the algorithm versus having a ton of active listings.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, let's fast forward to today. How many active listings do you have right now?
I'm sorry that I'm not.
You can guess. You don't have to be prepared.
As of right this minute, I have 647.
647. I asked a question, a prompt in the chat, and I haven't got many responses. Let me talk to the chat for a second here, because we got 40 people here. We only got 11 likes. You guys make sure you hit the like button. It's free, easy way to help out. But I asked you guys, how many active listings do you have and how many sales do you get on a normal day? If you feel comfortable letting us know, pop that into the chat. I've seen a few people say hi. Jody made it. Christina, thanks for being here. And then our buddy Chris is going back and forth with this Eric guy about soccer. I don't know if you see that. Fighting over Manchester City and United. I don't even know who either one of those are. But as Ethan said, he's got, what'd you say, 640 active listings?
647 as of today.
Yeah. And we got somebody pop in. CBJ23, 800 actives, 3 to 10 a day. Hi from Clearwater. We got a local in the house. I'm pretty similar. I have around 800 active listings. And so I have more active listings than you do. And how many do you say that you would sell on an average day?
I would say, I mean, it depends on the week, but I'd say typically average week to week is 12 to 15.
12 to 15. Yeah.
So I'm listing as many as I'm selling pretty much.
Nice. And I mean, I would probably say that I'm in the right now 10 to, well, probably just below you, like 10 to 13 range. So you have almost 200 less, but you're selling more than I am. And I get a ton of questions all the time. Every single time someone wants to know, every time I talk about how to become a full-time reseller, I mainly talk about active listings and like the math behind if you're putting up this many listings, you should be selling that many listings. And the first rebuttal that I get is, well, first you need to build up a store. Right. And it's pretty clear that like, if you're listing good things, you're going to be seeing sales consistently every single day. And the store doesn't matter as much as the consistency.
Right.
Would you say the store does matter at all?
I think the store matters. I think it matters how you frame the store. I think it matters what you frame the store around. Like whenever I think about a store, I think 3 things, just purely based on my degree, marketing, and what I know to be factual based on eBay, based on that. So it's what's in the store, how you present the store, and if your items are actually presentable / people want them.
Right.
So I think that it matters that you have a storefront. If you're taking it seriously, taking it full time, I think it matters that you have a storefront, whether you do all the options that eBay say to do. I'm still yet to create a video for my eBay store.
I don't think that matters.
I don't think it matters at all. But like, I haven't done everything, but at least mine's set up, and it looks different than most people's because it's just my unique characteristics within the store. Which I like. I like the fact that it's not all like cookie cutter. You have to do it this way. You can kind of present it how you want to. I also think it matters that not just throwing up listings just because you find them in the thrift store kind of thing. Like having the ability to present yourself and saying these shoes are now. Like somebody may want them tomorrow. That's how I frame my store, is that I only pick up things that I know, like people from the 1990s, they may want the shoes, but it's not going to be something that I'm going to pick up consistently. It's going to have to be one of those one-off things. Like it's going to be needing to be like, okay, if somebody from tomorrow wants a pair of the newest Brooks, I have them. They may not be in their size, but at least I have an option. So just that kind of like my mindset doesn't really go, okay, like it has to be cookie cutter, because you don't need a store. You don't. You pay the insertion fees, but you don't need a store. I think it just matters how important you take your listings seriously, and what you're trying to get out of your listings, whether it's a tomorrow sale, whether it's a 4 months from now sale. It doesn't really matter. It's just how you frame up your thing in mind.
So basically where you went with that is you're saying that like when you're looking at the actual store, it's more about how the store is put together, whether it's like branded well, whether it has a bunch of good inventory in it, and you can see that the seller is consistently listing good in demand items. And it's less about having the biggest store on eBay.
I'd say so, yeah.
So do you think that there's any value in having a huge store?
I think there is. I think there's a ton of value in it. I think so say you have 1,500, 2,000 listings. I think if they're good listings, theoretically, if they're good listings and they're things that will sell quickly, you should be selling more than me, because you have more opportunity, widespread opportunity. Now, if you have 2,000, 3,000 listings that are something else that somebody else has listed, and they're worse items, or they're not as popular, so then that kind of gets tricky, because I think that a big store matters because you have more reach, but that doesn't mean that you have better items in your store. It just means you have a lot.
Right. So I know that this is the tough question, the one that there's no real answer to, but do you think that there's a certain amount of active listings that you'd have to get to be a full-time seller, just assuming like full-time means, just your average income, whether that's like 4,000, 5,000 a month in profit?
I would say, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I think that you could list 15 a day and sell 15 a day. I think
100%.
you could be at zero. Do I think it's realistic? No.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, somebody like me that doesn't do social media like crazy. I enjoy posting here or there. But somebody else that has a bigger store, they may post 15 things and they may sell instantly, and they may have that income. But if you're wanting, I would say a good balance is at least 300, just in terms of like, at least you have a storefront, at least you have 300 options to get to that point. And I think that you could do it at 150. I did it at 0, where I was listing things and they were selling quickly, and I got up to 600 because it was comfortable, not because I had to. I could have slowed my listings way down, and then I could have sold more than what I had. For me to be comfortable where I'm making the money that I want to make, I'm not pushing myself, trying to kill myself for the income that I want, and the ability to take days like today where I'm only working limitly, and also having the full-time and money coming in at the same time. So I say 300 is a good close number, but I mean, you can start at 0 too. You have 15 good items and they're in demand. Whatever you sell, you and I both sell shoes, but whatever you sell and they're good things, they could sell within the day as well. And it's just constant recycle.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with you, because once you get up, the 300 number is honestly pretty spot on. I think once you get up to around that area, I feel like then you start having options for basically everybody that's shopping. Like you have a good selection of different sizes. And so if someone like is scrolling through eBay and they see one of your listings and they go into your store, there's more for them to shop through and look at. Could lead to bundle sales, could lead to this and that. It's not like the end all be all of the business, because like you said, I think that you could do it with 0 active listings. But it probably would make it easier to get those extra sales tacked on here and there, the extra sales tacked on.
Yeah, the extra ones that wouldn't normally come on a day-to-day, just because you have a bigger store. I mean, there's stuff that I sell all the time that like, it's not brands that I would recommend picking up for quick sales, but it's sales that come into your pocket that feed you for lunch, kind of a thing.
Right.
Where if you didn't have that big store and you listed 15 and you were hoping to sell 15 in that day, that sale may not come because it's not a fast item, but it will sell eventually. So I think there's pros and cons of having a big store because, like you said, there's the ability to shop around and, oh, I like these shoes for us. I like these shoes with the ones that I just picked up. I'll offer a bundle kind of a thing. Whereas somebody that doesn't have that many listings doesn't have that opportunity. But if you have too big of a store, like we were talking about, like the reach is harder because, like, of course, you have 17 different options for them, but you also have 17 different options from them, and they get like scatterbrained of, oh, I like this one, but I don't want this one, and I don't. So there's a fine line, but there's also no wrong answer in between there either.
Right. Sometimes the too many choices can be crippling.
Yeah.
Let me get caught up on the chat real quick. Jody said that she has 479 listed, about 4 to 5 sales per week. Daryl, 1,500 active. And I think he said in a separate comment, average 10 to 12 per day. Phoenix Flippers, what's up? Thanks for being here. Samantha's got 350 active on Poshmark, 3 to 5 sales per day. Kara, 122 active, 3 to 4 per week. Longshot Blade's got a question for us. Hey guys, how many returns you have and how many times you've been scammed? I have 6 scammers at the same week, 2 returns with Coca-Cola cans. Do you want to kick that one off?
I probably average around 6 to 8 returns a month, I'd say. I sell about 400 pairs a month, give or take.
Yeah.
In and around that number. So that's a pretty good ratio. But for me, most of my returns doesn't fit, or they'll lie and they'll be like, oh, it doesn't fit, but I'm going to say it's defective. So they can get the full refund. And truthfully, I don't care because I'll sell it again and I'll sell it quickly. Most of my returns are instant sales 2 days later. So I don't really have a mind thing unless it's like a really high dollar sale. Then I kind of get a little bit attitude and I fight them on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I am in the view of returns happen, not as much on Poshmark just because it's Poshmark, but on eBay, it's like running a store. Like if you have a storefront, you're basically running a store without paying for the brick and mortar.
Right.
Like you're going to have returns because people are people and it may not fit them the way it fits somebody else. And that's okay. Yeah. But like, it's not my place to judge like, oh, it doesn't fit my ankle right. Okay, I'll take the shoes back and I'll sell them again. And I'll probably sell them for more because I probably gave you an offer. Right. So I think that, yes, I think that scammers are out there, but I also think it's the items that you list because I've never gotten scammed on a pair of shoes. I have, when I was selling like collectibles and stuff, I'm not going to lie, I did get scammed on a couple of stuff like that. But I think it's
can you explain to me what do you mean by scammed?
So I sold sports cards when I first started, and I sold a card and they said it broke. And then they sent me back a card that was not the card that I sent them. And then they ripped it in half. So I got nothing back. And because eBay doesn't care, they'll just be like, you have to refund the buyer and we'll report them. And it doesn't matter. They'll still be able to buy.
And that's all they could do about that?
Interesting. It wasn't a card. It was like a $5 card, but
right.
$5.
But I don't know. I've just never, I can't say that I've ever been scammed on eBay before.
Shoes are, I don't think I've ever gotten scammed on shoes. That's what I'm saying. Collectibles and other stuff is possible, but like if you don't send the right shoes, like you're gonna know.
Yeah, and like I know other, like I've heard people complain about in shoes. They say they get scammed in the sense of someone will buy a pair of shoes from them and then wear it one time and return it. But like that's just it's just part of business. Like you said, like we have a store, people are going to buy things and return them. In the sense when you mentioned someone, most of your returns are from things don't fit, and like I just try to put myself in that person's position. Like I'm sure that they didn't purposely buy shoes that didn't fit them, and then they wound up with some shoes that didn't fit them. Like if you were them, wouldn't you want to return those shoes?
I think it's that mindset, and you also have to think like they're also having, for me especially, they have to pay for the return.
Right.
I don't do like, okay, I'll pay for your mistake. Like if you made the mistake in not sizing it right, you're paying to send it back to me. So most people don't return it. They'll end up selling it. Like there's a really good buyer was like, hey, like these didn't fit my husband, but that's my fault because I guessed.
Yeah.
I don't want to return it back to you because I live in Washington. So it's going to cost me more money to ship it back to you than
Yeah.
it is going to be for me to just sell it. And
Mhm.
I said, great. Do you want the photos that I took? So that way you have the listing. And they were like, yeah, that'd be great. And you can create relationships with them. And they've bought 2 or 3 other pairs from me now just because of that relationship of like not taking aggression towards the returns. If it's a dumb return, then I take a little bit of aggression. But if it's like it doesn't fit, I want to return it because it doesn't fit, and I don't have any ill will against you because it doesn't fit. Great,
Right.
I'll take the return. But then if it gets a little tricky, then that's kind of hard to deal with that.
Yeah. Yep. It's just part of the business, just part of the business. We had another question from Retro Bubble. This, kind of on topic. So I figured we bring this one up. I don't know if it's been mentioned, but how many items should you list a day as a new seller? Ethan, what do you think about that?
I think you list as many as you can find within reason of a week. So my wife started doing clothing and knickknacks and stuff like that on Poshmark. I know it's not necessarily eBay, but it coincides with it. So she's only just able to source once a week.
Mhm.
And so whatever she gets, that amount of on a Saturday, whatever she gets, we split it into days. And
Yep.
so if she gets 21 items, she lists 3 a day.
Yep.
And you just stay consistent. Doesn't matter the platform. I would not, me personally, I wouldn't list all of that in a day. I've seen people that do it and
Mhm.
they have great businesses. But I think I don't even think it's an algorithm thing. I think it's just consistency for your business, whether you're
Mhm.
part-time, it'll help you stay consistent to continue to want to do it if you're
Right.
consistent with it and include it in part of your day. If you do it all at once, you burn out.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
would
that's true too. Like, I feel like if I only listed one day a week and then I went the rest of the week without listing, it would be pretty easy to skip that day when it came around.
absolutely. Because then
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh, I'll just push it off to the next day. I'll push it off to
Yeah.
the next day. And then you don't do it.
Yep.
So when you keep it a part of your day, like
Mhm.
I have a scheduled time from 6:30 in the morning until 7:45 every morning. I'm listing, cross listing, working on my spreadsheet, and doing the business management side in
Mhm.
here. And then the rest of the day, whether that's sourcing or doing anything else, I'm either doing outside of this room. So I'm not like stressing myself about like, oh, like I should have done more listings. Like it's like I'm being consistent throughout the week.
Mhm.
So I don't think it matters how many. I just think it matters that you're consistent every day doing it.
Yep. And I think the most important thing if you're a new seller is learning sell-through rate. And because whenever you ask the question, how many items should you be listing a day as a new seller, that just sets you up for setting a goal for yourself that is either A, unattainable, or B, attainable, but with not very good inventory. The inventory you pick up will fall behind. I don't know what the right word I'm looking for is, but like you'll start picking up things that aren't up to a certain standard just to hit your listing goal.
Yep.
And the most important thing with being a new seller is selling things fast so you can reinvest and slowly build up your store, not build it all up at once.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that being said, if you were brand new, what's a good sell-through rate that you'd stick to?
Like overall?
What do you mean? What do you
Like
mean by
in
overall?
terms of like, oh, like when you're looking at a listing, or are you looking at
I'm saying like you're sourcing, right?
right?
You're brand new. You're going out sourcing to buy things to list this week. We'll keep it to like a day. Like we'll talk 30-day sell-through rate, 60-day sell-through rate, 90-day sell-through rate. Like the items that you're picking up, how fast do you want them to sell? Like what day are you staying underneath? Like, do you want to make sure that you're only picking up things that sell within 30 days, have a 30-day sell-through rate?
I'm gonna be more stingy than most people. I prefer to keep it under 60 days. Like if it doesn't sell under 60 days, I'm trying to figure out why my business isn't allowing it to sell or what I did, because I've done the research in the store. Dalton likes to yell at me when we source because I'm a lot more stingy about shoes than he is. But like I like to just be like, okay, will this sell within my that it's gonna sell?
We're back. You said,
Oh,
will this sell? And then we paused.
okay. I think it matters what your expectation slash what your business is. If it's part-time, I personally would say for part-timers, I would look at sell-through rates that are faster rather than long tail.
Mhm.
I think that also benefits the full-time people because I like to joke about it, but you can basically create this money scheme of constantly having a cash flow, doing it quick sell-through rates, and having shoes come in and out, in and out, in and out, like I do, or other things. Whereas if you wait long tail, then it's, oh, it'll eventually sell and I'll grab them in 180 days, 100, 200 days. Like I prefer to be like, okay, can I grab this a week from now? Like knowing that it will sell within a week from now, and then make $20 and then move that money and buy 3 more pairs of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. But I think that I don't think that there's a number that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just depends on the business, and I think it depends on the person that's picking it up. Because
Yeah.
you and I source completely differently.
Yeah.
But we both run very solid, equal businesses that run really well, but it's just completely different sourcing. And I don't think that, like, I think your number would be very different than my number.
Yeah. I would say that this really depends on your storage situation.
That's it.
Like how much room do you have? I agree with you in the terms of, if you are a part-time seller, you should be so much more strict. Because if you're a part-time seller, it's more of just a hobby. I mean, it's still a business, don't get me wrong, but it's not, your full-time income. So you don't want it like taking over, you know what I mean? So if you're part-time, stick to as quick of a sell-through rate as you can get. But as you evolve into a full-time business, like people that have, just picture somebody that sells shoes and they have an entire warehouse that they're selling out of. I'm sure that person, yes, cares a lot about sell-through rate, because everybody in any business on this planet wants a faster sell-through rate. But those people that have the huge stores, that has a huge warehouse, they're going to be more okay with a 6-month to 12-month sell-through rate on the stuff that isn't super in demand, but it's going to sell eventually because they have the room for it. They just put that listing up, and eventually that buyer is going to come around, and they have the system for it. Somebody that's working out of an apartment or out of their house, out of a storage unit, they have a much more confined space to work out of. So they got to stick to a faster sell-through rate. Like I've gone through this problem before. Like there are brands out there that, yes, they will sell eventually, but that eventually sale might take 12 months. And if you're buying things consistently that sell in 12 months, your inventory space is going to fill up a lot faster than you want to. And you're eventually going to run out of money quicker because the stuff that you're picking up isn't selling and you can't reinvest back into the business. So storage has a lot to do with it. Always want to stick to as quick of sell-through rate as you can. But I have a question. Is there any situation where you'd pick up something that's going to take 6 months plus to sell if it's something that's going to sell for a lot of money?
So I think my answer would be yes, but I think it depends on the money threshold. If I'm making $100 and it's only $100, I wouldn't wait that long, because I can do 7 to 8 shoes for that much and I make more money than that.
Agreed.
But I think if it's like $2 or $3 grand, yes, that's different, because there's money. But like the way that even I source now, like I pick up shoes that like I know will sell. They may not sell within what we all joke about in our friend group about how quickly I like selling things, but I like know that it will sell eventually. But like even then I'm hesitant on being like, oh, okay, so I'm picking up this price and I have to wait for this price. Like I could take an offer and just move money. So my nature is just like, I like fast moving money. I'm not waiting for the high dollar stuff like some of our other friends. Like I get that side of it. I just like moving stuff. Like I just don't like it. It'd have to be something significant where it'd be like, okay, you're paying $5 for it, but you have to wait for the $2 grand sale. I'll do it. But if I'm paying $100 and then I'm only going to make $150, I'm not going to do it, because it's just like, I'll do it, but it's not like something that I would enjoy doing.
Yeah, I agree. I used to be on the other side of this when I found something that was like a gem, gem, depending on your definition of that, but it's just something that is going to take a while to sell. Yeah. Right. Even if it's cheap, in my mind, I would think, it's going to sell eventually. It's going to sell for this much. Like I'm looking at Terapeak because there's no solds in the past 90 days, but Terapeak shows that they sell eventually. There's a few listed. I'm like, okay, I can pick this up and it'll sell eventually. Right. But my mindset now has gone more towards like, if I see something when I'm sourcing that has a couple listed, none sold, but if you go into Terapeak, there's a bunch, like not a bunch, but it shows that it does have sales history, I'm still probably not picking it up. Like I don't like waiting for sales that long. Unless it's something that I can, like you said, sell it for under market, but move it quick.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm trying to stick away from that stuff. I know Chris, Retail Recon, if he's still in here, Chris, have you sold those? He's got a pair of shoes that he's got listed for like $2,500 or something. He got them on Mercari, I think, for like, I don't know. Chris, if you're still here, let me know. Just let me say hello to a couple people. I'd Flip That is here. Again, I want to remind you guys, in 2 days, me and Flip the World are going to be on I'd Flip That's YouTube channel. We're doing some game shows. So if you haven't already, go over and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. Daryl has over 400 sales a month and only has 1 or 2 returns a month. That's amazing. That is fantabulous. Phoenix Flipper said they started filming all of their returns when they open them, so they have proof of what is sent back to them. That'll work. Retro Bubble says cheers. JL Crew says fit. I don't know what that means. And then there's Retail Recon. One day, my friend, one day, and that day will be great. So that means that he hasn't sold them, but he'll sell them eventually. Okay. Would you? I think Chris has had these for like maybe not 2 years, but it's been at least 18 months. What would you do in his shoes?
Well, I mean, if we talk about a big sale, you and I we picked up those Louis Vuitton shoes.
Yeah.
And you and I contemplating listing them high. And I said, well, we both just prefer to have the money.
Yeah.
I'm in the statement, if Chris didn't pay a ton for him, I'd just take what you could get. But
yeah,
Chris,
I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but he got a pretty good offer one time. And the old counter offer got him. Okay. I think with those Louis Vuitton shoes though, I think I did list them pretty high.
You listed them high, but they could have been higher. The retail was stupid high, and there was none listed. So we could have.
There was really. Oh, he said he accepted the offer and they didn't pay. That's right. Those Louis Vuitton, I think I listed them at $599. Got that $475 offer, and
well, the retail on those were what, like $1,300-$1,400?
Probably. They were kind of.
They were awful.
Obscure.
They were awful. Let's be completely honest. They weren't obscure. They were awful.
They were awful.
But we paid $10 for them. So
that's true. That's true. I was thinking we paid $18, but I guess they were half off, weren't they?
They were half off.
That's crazy. Onape, what are the differences in your sourcing type? Probably also reflects your number of active listings. It does reflect our difference in active listings. Like we mentioned earlier, he has 640 active. I have a little over 800. I was closer to 900, but I ran we're moving soon. So I've been running pretty intense sales, trying to get as many sales as possible. So right now I'm floating around 800. But it's first of all, the biggest difference. This guy doesn't pick up vans, and you guys know I love vans. I will say though, like I pick up those vans because I have the storage for those vans. Yeah. Like sometimes you list a pair of vans and they sell the same day, and it's a good day. But sometimes you gotta mark down those vans 30%, and 6 months later they'll sell. Yeah. You gotta just kind of learn what models, but even picking up the right models, like the models that people wear every single day, sometimes it just takes a while to find that buyer. What would you say is some other differences in our sourcing, Mr.?
You like to pick up BZs.
Pick up what?
BZs.
Yeah, I've slowed down a lot on that one. I think the market has gone down quite a bit. So I don't think I've picked up a pair in a while, but I'd still pick them up for cheap.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like the main things that you and I would joke about whenever we're sourcing. Yeah. I think Vionic is one of them.
I sold like 4 pairs this weekend.
I know, so did I. So I don't know. But I think like it's also a preference thing. Yeah. Dalton and I, whenever we source together, it's kind of funny because we'll go into a store and we'll both go into 2 separate sections, especially when we source close to me, because we have to be fast. He and I will pick up completely opposite items, but we'll both pick up a cartload. So it's just kind of like whenever we get to the drafting section of it, you kind of see how exactly I source, because I'll pick only the things that I will source. And then sometimes you'll see the things that he'll pick up, and it's stuff that I would source too, but because the draft is the way it is. But at the end of the draft, you'll see the stuff that I've left that he has and he picks up usually. So
the stuff that you don't want.
The stuff that I don't want.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I should be a little bit more picky sometimes, but I fall victim to the wanting to pick up as much as possible sometimes.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is like transferring from like going to when I was at school of like trying to get as much as I could because I only had 1 day to source a week.
Yeah.
When we originally talked to now, like it's almost at the point of like I'd much rather have less than I would have more because I know the less is going to be weird. The less is more in terms of value rather than the more being less in terms of value. So that's just the way I source. So I'm like, if we talk about buy cost and stuff like that, my buy cost is a little bit higher than it was a long time ago, like when we talked originally, because my buy cost was $7, $8. Now it's almost double that, depending on the week.
Yeah.
Just because of the places that I source and the items that I pick up that you usually priced up a little bit higher. But it also reflects on my active listings because they're priced up higher, but they're at a good enough price where I'm not pricing them to the moon of what they could be, but at a good enough price where they can go in a couple of days.
Yeah. That's where my mind was going. I was going to bring up the average buy cost because you are, I wouldn't say significantly higher, but you are higher to a point that if you were in my shoes and this was your channel, the people would be roasting you, bro.
Oh, I'm sure.
They'd be going crazy because people go crazy at me. They're like, why would you pay this much for shoes? I'm just like, well, I mean, it's working because you got people that are used to sourcing at the bins getting $3 shoes. And then
some of us aren't as fortunate as Flip the World is to
you said your average buy cost is like $14.
I think overall it's around 13 to 14.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out a way to lower that.
I disagree.
I agree, but I think there's ways that I could. I think that there are certain items that I have picked up in the past that like they're still in the store and I paid up for them, but like now it's going out of season. Like it's just poor choices within my good choices that I'm like, okay, like I have like the entirety of my top shelf of all of my racks are all boots, which is kind of a problem considering we're going into summer and it's not going to be boot season. However, I buy whenever the season because I just sold a pair of snake boots for $110 that I paid $25 for.
Yeah.
Like that's just how like I recognize my mistakes within it, but I don't think it's wrong for the buy cost to be that high as long as it's good items. I think it just doesn't. Sometimes I kind of question my own purchases.
So I just had a question and it just slipped my mind. People, I've got asked this question, I think last week. So I'm going to forward it to you.
Okay.
With everybody always complaining about thrift store pricing.
Yep.
How do you feel about thrift stores raising their prices?
I think that it depends on your look at the economy. It also depends on your look at the thrift store. I think that there are certain stores that I understand why they're pricing up for it because they're buying the inventory. The stores that I go to buy the inventory and put it out. So I understand because travel expenses are expensive, fuel prices are going up. Like I get that. I think for certain stores, I mean, not to name drop, but Goodwill, like when they're getting inventory for free, like, and then they're pricing it at a certain extent. I think that there's an extent that's too much. And I think that there's something that's reasonable. I think that if it's a really good item and they know it's a good item and it's priced reasonable for me to pay up for it, I'll do it because I know it will sell. However, if it's a terrible item, like I saw a Dr. Scholl's, brand new pair of Dr. Scholl's for $65 at Goodwill one time. And I brought it up to just joking. I knew the person. This was when I was back at school. I knew the person. And I was like, just as a question, would you pay $65 for these? And their response was no, but that's why we have it priced out there and not me having it. So it's for somebody, right? Yeah. Somebody's going to come along, and if they don't, it'll get priced down, then priced down, then priced down, and then it'll get to the bins. And that's fine. Yep. But I think that's almost like humans in a way where it's like, okay, if I don't want this, somebody else will. Right. Just because I'm a reseller doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't need these shoes and are willing to pay that much. It's an opportunity. So I think that it comes down to your relationship with the thrift store. I think if it's a one-time you go in, it's too expensive, fine. I understand when it's like, okay, well, I wasted my time coming here. But if it's a multiple time thing and then it succeeds in rising, like if it's like multiple months, like the stores that I go to every week, I've seen them rise, I've seen them fall. Like it used to, there's a place down here that was at $27 a pair every single week, and there was no markdowns. And then I went a couple weeks ago, and now it's back down at $6. I think it's also just depending on where you live. This is the other big thing. For us in Florida, the last month, everything went up. I don't know if that happened with you. But in my area, because of all the spring breakers, thrift stores recognized that they could get more money, and all of their prices went up. But as soon as April finished, all of spring break went away, prices came right back down. And I think it's just opportunity.
Yeah.
Same thing with the economy.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, if I was in the position of someone if I owned a thrift store, I'd be wanting to eat as much as I can for whether I am a charity and everything's going to be donated, all the money is going towards a charity, or if I'm trying to make a profit. Either way, I'm trying to get as much money as possible.
Yep.
So I agree with you, and they are going to have to themselves figure out where the sweet spot is. Like you might raise some prices, you might have to lower some prices to find that sweet spot. But I was wondering, how do you feel in your business? Like you personally, now that the thrift stores prices have gone up across the board, I don't think that they're going to get back down to the prices they were in 2019. How does that make you feel with your sourcing? Do you think that your sourcing is better now, or do you think your sourcing is worse?
Well, considering I was 18 in 2019, I didn't know what reselling was. I've never stepped into a thrift store at 18. I don't know those prices.
Mm-hmm.
So coming out of it from the COVID mindset of going to the bins when I was at home, those prices were really nice. So going from bins prices being $67, $87, $1.29 just for bins, I know that expectation is not going to be the same as it is now. Like I know that. But I also recognize, like, in my business, it's going to sound harsh. I kind of don't care because I won't pick it up if it's too high a price. Like, I just won't. I'll just leave it. And I'll know that, okay, in a couple of months, it'll get lowered down because nobody's going to pay that price.
Yeah.
But I'll be there when it is.
Yeah.
When it's lower. So I think it just kind of depends on your business. I also just think it's dependent on, for me, if it's a $40 pickup, and I am one of the very few in our friend group that does buy cost, but as I do buy cost, I know that $40 one gets shot right back down to $14, but I know that I'm going to make that $120, $150 sale that justifies me paying up for it.
Yeah.
So I think it just kind of, truthfully, I don't think about it. It sounds bad, but I swipe my debit card knowing that I'm going to make that money afterwards.
Right. So where I went with this whenever I was asked the question is I think that this kind of falls back into what we were talking about earlier with like picking up things that are a faster sell-through rate and having a standard for your store. I'd say back when thrift store prices were a lot cheaper, my sell-through rate was probably a lot slower because the type of stuff that I was picking up back then isn't nearly as good as it is today. Right. I think that with the rise in thrift store prices, a lot of resellers don't even care. Like, since 90% of resellers are everything sellers, and a big portion of those don't like selling shoes because they don't like cleaning shoes. Yep. The few of them that did go through the shoes are now, avoiding the shoes because of the prices. They don't want to pay up for them. And I think that with the rise in prices, Goodwill's maybe realized that they need to be putting better inventory out. I don't know how it's working behind the scenes, but the thrift stores have been getting better inventory lately, and it's been worth paying up for. Yep. And I think that picking something up for $5 and selling it for $25 after shipping is the exact same thing as picking up something for $20 and selling it for $40. You're putting in the same amount of work and you're still profiting $20. But the thing is, with the stuff that you're paying $20 for, typically it's going to be a lot higher than a $40 sale price. Yep. So in my personal opinion, I think that my inventory is doing a lot better now than it was. It does suck paying up, but
let's be very clear. I don't enjoy paying.
Of course.
I would much rather pay that $5, whatever it used to be during COVID, but I can't. I've always said that I can't live in the past. I can remember it, but you sit there and you be like, oh, woe is me. These prices are horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll pick that up in front of you and I'll move on.
Right.
I'm also very strict in my sourcing, so some of the stuff that I'm paying up for, I'm hardly having to clean. So it's like me
Right.
paying a cleaner, essentially,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, it's really clean. It's probably $3 more than what I would prefer it to be, but it's $3 of my work and my work time that I don't have to actually spend doing it. So
100%.
a lot of my listing or a lot of the stuff that I'm picking up, yes, my buy cost is high, but it's like having a cleaner because most of the time I'm only picking up the stuff that's clean. Because
Right.
again, when you and I source, you pick up a little bit dirtier stuff than I do, where I'm very strict, but that's okay because it's, again, like we said, it's two different businesses. Whereas there's nothing wrong with picking up a little bit dirty. I just don't like cleaning as much.
Right. Makes sense. So circling back, earlier you mentioned currently you're sitting at 600 some listings. What's your goal for that? Do you have a listing goal? Like, do you want to see your store get to a certain size?
I think that I need to move out of here first.
Yeah.
Because I'm limited to my garage space.
Right.
It's a big garage for the space, but the problem is that like I don't have control of climate. I don't have control of all of these things, especially in Florida. Like I want to have a more controlled environment, whether that means that the shoes, when we get a house, whether that means the shoes will actually come inside into a room like this, into my office or something like that, whether that means they stay outside, but I get a little bit more space to move around.
Yeah.
Funny story, a little bit claustrophobic. So a little bit more racks would scare me because I feel more enclosed because all of my work other than my computer stuff happens downstairs. And me getting all stressed out about like my space kind of feeling all cramped is not healthy for me. So I could get up to that 1,000 listings, but I would prefer to wait until I get into a new space where I have the ability to spread out a little bit more. So my like spaces are sectioned out a little bit more. So I'd say I'd love to be selling. I mean, in a couple of years, I'd love to be selling double than what I am now. So that 30 a day range, whether that's me listing more, whatever is going to happen, but I'd love to have more space. So I'd love to, I don't even think about it as active listings, honestly. I'd love to double amount that I sell rather than thinking, oh, I'd love to have 1,250 listings or 1,300 listings. I just rather double what I sell now, and whatever that requires me to do that, I'll do that.
I 100% agree. That's what I was hoping you'd come on here and say, because that's pretty much what I tell people every time they ask about the active listings. Because I think that you could actually double what you sell and still stay at 640 active listings. Like, it's possible.
Yeah.
But say you move into a new house or a new space and you have more room, are you going to start picking up the stuff that's a little bit lower sell-through rate? So you have those extra sales sprinkling in. Like, I know there's pros and cons.
Yeah. I think that there's pros and cons to it. I think in my business, until I get to a point where I then have to move forward with my listings in order to reach that double or triple or whatever goal, I think that may come. And I may take those lower listings, but I think it also depends on, can I get those lower ones for less? So that way it's shooting down my price, my average buy cost. It's shooting that down, but I'm also not like exorbitantly spending all my money on Vans, Converse, that kind of stuff. Like, I'd prefer to spend the majority of my money on stuff that I know will have high dollar, high value, high sell through. And then those lower ones, if I can get them in that $5 to $7 range, I know that doesn't seem low to most people. And everybody be like, in the comments later, be like, Ethan's saying $5 is low. Like, no, I'm aware that it's not low, but for me, it's low.
Yeah.
And I can't find stuff for that cheap. So it's like, if I can get it in that range, if I can find a wholesale that I can get, like used Vans that are in good condition for $5 a box, helps you. Please release that box.
Please restock.
Restock, basically, is what we're asking for. But like that kind of something where it's like, I'm willing to pick up those lower sell-through rates for that reason, knowing that those, like, they'll take a long time. But if it's moving some other pieces and it's not causing me strife to like actually clean Vans, because that's my biggest pet peeve with Vans, is the cleanliness of the front toe spot. Because I'm not ADHD or OCD about cleaning. It's just there's a lot easier shoes to clean than Vans. And like, if I can get it at those lower prices, then I'd be willing to pay up for multitude of them that would then increase my active listings. But again, like we talked about, I think that it would be more of a, like, if I'm doubling, tripling my business now, I'm willing to do it as long as I'm not shooting up my active listings absorbently, only taking those items up.
Yeah. So do you see this? You're talking about a lot of hypotheticals.
Yes.
Do you see this happening anytime soon?
I would say not in a year, truthfully. I think that I think people's expectation on reselling is that everything happens as soon as you go full time.
Yeah, true.
And from a lot of people that I see, they'll always be like, oh, well, I went full time and now it's not happening for me. And I'm like, that's because you did it part time and your brain is in part time. And when you switch to full time, you have to switch into, okay, you're now a business owner, LLC holder, whatever you decide to do. You have to run this business as you. If you don't have business, like if you don't have employees or whatnot, you have to run it all by yourself. Whereas part time, it was like you were an employee for eBay.
Pretty much.
You're shooting stuff up, and now you're the full-time business owner, and you're like, oh, but why is it not doubling? Because my time is now tripled on my. It's because you're doing your part-time job within a full-time job,
and now you have to take money out of the business
exactly
to pay your bills. It's a lot harder than people think.
It's a lot harder, and I think that I thought it was going to be a lot easier, truthfully, than I was recognizing. I've done a lot to improve my business, but it's also like, I can see how much money the business is making, but how much money I'm actually making, it's a lot different than how much the business is making, because you have to reinvest that money. Like, it's not cheap, especially for shoes. Because again, you run a bins. I think that if you had a bin, I'm going to be completely controversial here. I think if you have a bins, bins eBay store, your profit margin will be higher than anyone possible because it's so cheap to get there. But I think that it's more important that you run your business realizing that, especially for me and your sakes, like, I'm investing almost a third of my profit every month. And I'm happy to do that. But like, I'd much rather keep all of the money that I make, because I see the money that I make, but it's like, I'm not seeing that reconciled into my bank account. And that's kind of the hardest thing, because it's like, I made a good amount of money this week, and I'm like, where is all of that money? It's because you have to reinvest.
It's hard to find that sweet spot of like how much you can pull out for yourself while still being able to invest in enough inventory to keep hitting your listing goal every single day. It's tough.
Yeah, that's the tricky part that I did not know was going to be a tricky part. I thought part-time, I was like, oh, I'm getting an extra $500 a week from doing this. This is great. And then I'm like, coming into full-time, like, oh, the life is expensive. Like, it's really expensive.
And your income after you go from part-time to full-time, like, it doesn't scale linear. Because you think when you're part-time, you're like, oh, okay, right now I'm profiting $2,000. If I go full-time, I'll be able to double that. That'll be $4,000. But what you don't understand is if you double it, your cost of goods is also going to double. So you can't be paying yourself double just because your business doubled. And it's tough.
I've always liked the idea of the step ladder of time. People think it's a year. I like to think it as whatever the business can do. Like, Mark Cuban said something. He was like, my first couple months were the worst months of my life. The next 3 years were amazing, and then I had the worst months ever. And it's not, everybody thinks it's this like ladder effect of you just keep going up, keep going up. That's why I don't like put the expectation of like, okay, by next year, if we talk again on YouTube, I'm going to have a double of the business I have. I don't put that expectation on myself, because it's not like it's definitely scalable. But you have to work to scale it like crazy. And I don't want to do more work than I have to.
Exactly.
Because that's why I do this job, is to not work for somebody. It's working for myself. And I don't want to kill myself for 4 months out of the year in order to have free time. Like, I just want to be able to have like a today where I work for 4 hours and then I'm done for the rest of the day, but I'm still making money throughout that time. So it's finding that balance of like, okay, to answer your question, I'd love for it to double next year. Will it? I don't know. But I'd like in the next 5 years for it to double.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I used to be, well, not used to. I keep going through phases, if we're being honest, where I'll be like super competitive with myself. Like, I think back to like last November. Last November, I did great sales. I think like after shipping, like the number that was deposited in my bank account was the highest that it's ever been, like by a long shot last November. And then part of me was just like, I really, really want to beat that in December. And December 1st, I was just like wiped out already because I was just like all that work in front of me for this arbitrary number that I just didn't have the motivation to do it. And I feel like if you, like you said, if you're just looking at these steps, it's easy to, that the next step is a lot of pressure. But if you realize that like sometimes business is going to go up and then the next month may be down, but in the grand scheme of things, you're always going up.
Yeah.
When you just accept that, like not using that as an excuse to just slack off and be lazy.
Right.
But like if you just accept that, it's a whole lot easier to like stay motivated and keep growing your business without rushing and trying to beat yourself up over beating last month's sales or setting these huge goals just to say you did it.
I think that's a huge downside of the reselling community is there's so much hyper competitiveness.
Yeah, I agree.
About people that post the numbers or they don't post the numbers, or they post their boxes and people who don't post their boxes or whatever it may be. There's such a like, oh, I beat you kind of a thing. It's like, oh, I did more than you this weekend or something like that. And I've kind of like, it's another reason why I like don't like posting as much on stories and stuff is because I feel like I'm contributing to competition that's not healthy.
Yeah.
I think that healthy competition that's why I loved playing soccer was because every single person that I played college soccer with was the best player or one of the best players on their team.
Yeah.
But you came in and like, truthfully, for the last, 6 months of me playing soccer, I didn't play a game.
Yeah.
But that's because I wasn't the best player on the team anymore, or I wasn't one of the best players on the team. I was never the best player in high school, but I was in that conversation. But when I got to college, last player on the picking pool.
Yeah.
But like, there's such a competition essence within the reselling community, especially on Instagram, I would argue.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about YouTube as much, but like, okay, like I post my numbers. That's wonderful. And you should absolutely be proud of yourself with it. But people take it, it's not your fault. Like, it's not anybody's fault, but other people take it to that extent of like, oh, I beat these guys this weekend, or I sold more than these guys. These guys are influencers. How do I not have these many followers? And they suck at selling or something like that. And you have no idea what their life is outside of it.
Yep.
Or you have no idea what they sell during the week. Like, I think that's another reason of just like being in your own lane with reselling. That's why like another reason why I don't post a lot is like I have seen my business grow, like actually grow, while I'm only focusing on my business, which is kind of a easy concept. But when you think about it, it's like, oh, you can get distracted by so much.
Right.
Watch YouTube. You can try and do YouTube. You can do Instagram. You can try and create content for Instagram. You can try and do all of these social things. You can do all of these things. But if you like focus in on one thing, that thing will grow. It just will. It's the natural way of it. Now, there may be hard days, maybe hard months, there may be hard years, but at least it's growing. You're focusing on it. But like, I think, especially for active listings, like if we're making full circle to active listings, you focus on good active listings. It does not matter how many you have. Does not matter. Just as much as it doesn't matter how many followers you have on Instagram. It doesn't matter how many subscribers you're putting out. As long as you're putting into valuable things, if you're putting into like content that matters, people are actually responding to what you have, like whether that be eBay, whether that be content, whether that be whatever. I think it's the most important that you're putting value into it and also trying to grow it and not just throwing it out there.
100%.
Yep.
I agree with you 1,000,000%, Mr. Ethan. We have 60 seconds left. Do you have anything you want to end with?
Do you need to catch up on the chat? There's been a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any particular questions, I don't think. I do want to say what's up to everybody that's here. Avery, Brett, Retail Recon. I blame Ethan's nonstop posts in the wins channel for my hyper competitiveness.
Sorry.
And Jody said, have you hit the like button? Come on, folks. 36 likes and there's 68 people here. It's free. It's free. It's just a little button. Just click it. With that being said, Ethan, anything to close out with? How can people?
I'll do a like goal.
like goal?
If you hit 200 likes on this video, you and I will start a podcast YouTube channel.
Okay. All right. So you make that really hard on me here because we're here at the very end of this video. So the people have got to watch this full thing and hit that like button.
Or you can make it a YouTube short video. You're
right. I could. Everybody go hit the like button on this video. You know what? We'll make that happen.
Because I will happily do this multiple times. I enjoy it, and we get different people on. It'll be fun. But I
agree. I enjoy. What'd you say?
I said you have to have a goal for it. You can't just do it just to do it.
Sure. I enjoyed the conversation. So if you guys heard that, you heard it here. If you hit the like button, if we get 200 likes on this specific video, me and Ethan will start a little podcast. And we will be talking about this all the time. So if you haven't already, hit the like button for me. And Ethan, do you even want these people to follow you anywhere or hit you up anywhere?
I mean, you can follow. So I think I have a YouTube channel. I don't think it's active. That's probably where we will land, I would assume, for the podcast, unless Dalton wants to have it on his channel too. It's just TCR, and it's got my face on it, like the Instagram. I can type it in the chat.
There you go.
But I think it's just I think it's just TCR, just all uppercase TCR. I think. I have 20 subscribers. I don't know how, because I've never posted anything on there. Thank you guys for subscribing if you have.
We'll go make it more. You're going to color coordinate with our... I just realized me and you were matching, kind of.
But I think, that or Instagram. I'm going to attempt to do more stories on Instagram. I will make a promise that I will at least post my cart on Wednesday.
Okay. I can get down with that.
That's all you get.
All right, guys. If you guys want to see a cart picture or some sales pictures on stories only, go follow Ethan at... You're still the college reseller on Instagram, right?
It's like the.college reseller or something stupid.
College reseller.
Yeah, the.college reseller.
And make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I do this every Tuesday at 12:30, noon 30 Eastern time. So I will see you guys next week. Ethan, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah.
Peace.